Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. We have people rocking and rolling with us from every pocket of America and worldwide as we talk Niners every single day here on this show. My name is Chase Sr., and of course, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day as we dive into the latest Niners news heading into this Week 2 matchup against the New Orleans Saints. And we have a loaded show on tap for all of you here today. A new Brock Purdy report. We now have a definitive timeline for how much time he could miss with this turf toe injury. We're going to do a Niners Saints preview. I have some good news to hit for the Niners. Bad news to touch on as well. And then we go behind enemy lines. I'm going to be joined by producer Trizzy Trace, now known as Trace Gerard, the host of Saints Now, to do a Niners Saints preview and get some great insight from the New Orleans perspective to make you a more informed Niners fan heading into this game. You can get those questions in using the hashtag 49ers or by sending in a super chat. I always love chopping it up with all of you. As for this Brock Purdy timeline, we'll dive into this more, obviously, coming up here over the next several minutes. But what a ride it's been over the last few days. On Sunday, Purdy throws those two picks after he had led the Niners down the field 95 yards on the opening drive of the season as he hit George Kittle for that touchdown. And then at the end of the game, that epic comeback that he's able to stage. 6 of 6 on that final drive. The 45-yarder to Ricky Pearsall. The game winner to Jake Tonches. You're thinking, what an epic win for this Niners team to begin the 2025 campaign. And Purdy came out of that game unscathed, right? No. On Monday, we started to get word that Purdy had toe and shoulder injuries. Yesterday on Wednesday, Kyle Shanahan said Purdy's a long shot to play against New Orleans, and he could miss multiple games. And then this morning, the update from Ian Rappaport that Purdy could be out, not just this week, but 2 to 5 weeks. Awful injury news for San Francisco to their franchise quarterback, especially after they gave him that contract extension. And after he came through in the clutch and proved why he should be one of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. We'll get into that here in just a bit. Our super chat battle here today. Earlier this week, Saints Now went live. Niners playing the Saints this week. We want to get a win in New Orleans. And, of course, inside the walls of Chat Sports, they picked up $212 in super chats. Can we beat that number with today's live show, as we'll be live for the next hour or 90 minutes? Let's talk some Niners. I need everybody coming in here to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video, because if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. And if you're ready to rock, we're ready to rock. It's Chase Senior, producer Chip, and the faithful hanging out here on this Thursday, September 11th. Obviously, we remember the heinous acts that happened on 9/11 in 2001. But we also have to do our jobs, of course, and we're pumped up to talk some Niners. 230 people watching live, 52 likes. We should get that number to 100 likes in the next 30 seconds. So again, support the show for free. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video right now, and let's start the official show right now. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. There are so many Niners content options out there. Anytime you decide to choose us and hang out here with me on the program, we greatly appreciate that. As for what's coming up, Niners Saints Week 2 preview as San Francisco travels to the Big Easy, New Orleans, to look to push that record to 2-0. Kickoff is set for Sunday, September 14th, 1 p.m. Eastern, an early game on the West Coast, 10 a.m. San Francisco time. So obviously for this Niners bunch, it is going to be that early Pacific Eastern time slot. Never easy, especially in a really loud environment, Superdome in New Orleans. But shoot, San Francisco battle-tested. They just came through with that clutch win on the road in Seattle, which is looked at as one of the more difficult places to play. The betting line for this game has been fascinating with all of the Niners injury news that we've seen this week. George Kittle on injured reserve. Brock Purdy not going to play. And so the Niners were touchdown favorites. Then it went down to 4. Now it's down to 3.5. The over-under for this game also pretty laughable. when you factor in that usually around the NFL, especially this time of year as things are getting ironed out, it is an offensive slugfest. This game expected to be a defensive slugfest like it was last week. The over-under total at just 40 even. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, by the way, and join us. We'll be live right here on the 49ers Report for a Niners-Saints Week 2 watch party. We go live for every single Niner game. You don't want to miss it. And as I always like to say, it's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. The big Brock Purdy update this week. He will miss 2 to 5 weeks with a form of turf toe. That according to Ian Rappaport, NFL insider for the NFL Network. General manager John Lynch said on Thursday morning, it's a week-to-week injury. He's definitely ruled out, though, for this game against New Orleans, and it's a big blow for San Francisco here. If he is out for the next 5 games, here are the next 5 matchups for the Niners. On the road against the Saints, home opener at Levi Stadium, the site of Super Bowl 60 against the Arizona Cardinals. At home again against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If Mac Jones plays, it's the Jags' revenge game spot for him. Then the Niners go on the road to play the Rams on Thursday Night Football, and then they're on the road after a mini bye to play a really good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So some difficult matchups await for San Francisco with or without Brock Purdy. And why this Brock Purdy injury news sucks, he just got paid $55 million per year. In week 1 against your most hostile rival, he staged an epic comeback to silence the crowd and come through with a massive victory to start off the 2025 season. There were a lot of questions about Brock Purdy's ability to play well and win games late when either the Niners were trailing or the game was close and tied, and he was able to answer a lot of those questions. Some people said, Brock Purdy, he doesn't have the clutch gene. He displayed that and shut everybody up. All of the detractors were silenced with what he did on that final drive. 6 of 6, including a 45-yarder down the left sideline to Ricky Pearsall to get that drive going, to get the Niners matriculating down the field, and then he hits Jake Tonches on an unbelievably athletic play to win the game for San Francisco. There's also this, the injury history with your biggest investment in franchise history is a little bit concerning, right? Hurt his elbow in 2022, fully healthy in 2023, but then last year he dealt with a couple of different injuries, and now it's turf toe. He's a smaller guy. He's not built like a Ben Roethlisberger back in the day, a Tom Brady, a Josh Allen modern day, Patrick Mahomes, or a Jalen Hurts. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, and usually smaller guys at the NFL level can be more injury prone. You don't want that to happen after you gave him $55 million big ones per year. And then the injury luck in general for San Francisco continues to be awful. They are the most cursed injury team in the NFL. So it is now Mac Jones' time with the Niners, whether it's one game or the next 5, we'll certainly see. I really like the investment that the Niners made in him during free agency. Very good value deal if he ends up playing well, especially for a backup. 2 years, $8.4 million. He has 49 career starts. He's compiled a 20-29 record. Context, as I always say, very important. That record, it's been on bad teams. New England was bad when he was there. The Jacksonville Jaguars last year were horrible. And I think what's notable here and why I think that Jones can have success on top of him having ability, Kyle Shanahan really liked him in the pre-draft process in 2021. Of course, the Niners moved up to take Trey Lance. Trey Lance is now on his 3rd team. So too is Mac Jones. But Shanahan liked Mac with what he did at Alabama, led them to a national championship, led all quarterbacks in the country in multiple passing categories. He put up stupid numbers that year. But I think Shanahan saw this is a quarterback like he's capable of being a quality backup quarterback for Shanahan. He's capable of carrying the load until Brock Purdy comes back. He's capable of putting up really solid numbers. But Niners are going to have to do a couple of things in order for him to have success. They have to protect him. The Niners' offensive line against the Seahawks, glaringly bad. Brock Purdy was pressured the highest percentage of his career. Nearly 60% of the time that he dropped back, he was under duress. Pressured 57.9% of his dropbacks. That was Purdy's highest rate of his career. Under pressure, Purdy went 13 of 20 for a $126, a touchdown, and 2 picks. If Mac Jones is put under pressure, he does not have the foot speed, the mobility, or the running ability to escape that pressure. And how many times have I said this? Brock Purdy bails out this mediocre Niners offensive line so much and this offense with his ability at a high level to improvise, create out of structure, make improvisational plays. For Mac, a lot of the offense has to be on schedule, and San Francisco is going to have answers to the blitz, and they're going to have to protect well and run the ball well. We have some fascinating numbers coming up on the back half of the show, so don't go anywhere because you don't want to miss that insight. And look, going into this game, the Niners undoubtedly are the better team than the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are rebuilding. They have a new regime as far as their head coach and coaching staff led by Kellen Moore. Brandon Staley is their defensive coordinator. But they're in this era right now where they're rebuilding. They're really tinkering with the roster. They tore it down, and they're looking to build it back up because it's been tough for Saints fans over the last few years. So while the Niners have more talent, they have more depth, they have the better coaching staff, this game is not going to be a cupcake game. And it could be a trap game for San Francisco because, as we know, this league is a league of parity. And upsets happen all the time because anything can happen on any given Sunday. Some major Niners injury news outside of Brock Purdy. George Kittle, of course, out with the hamstring injury. He has been placed on injured reserve. He's out at least the next 4 weeks. For San Francisco in week 1, a clutch, big balls win for the Niners on the road in a huge spot. I love the 95-yard opening touchdown drive. Now, they didn't do much outside of that, but when it mattered in crunch time, Brock Purdy, after he threw those 2 picks, flushed those mistakes, drove San Francisco down the field, and had that great drive. The Niners could have lost that game, maybe should have lost that game, and nearly lost that game. Jake Moody, 2 missed field goals. It didn't help matters at all. It flipped momentum. There was a 6-point swing right before halftime when Moody clanked it off the upright from 27. Then the Seahawks go down the field. They get 3. And then Jake Moody's second field goal, it got blocked. No longer with this football team, and for good reason. I absolutely loved how Robert Saleh's defense played. They balled out, and that kind of surprised me because they have a bunch of new and young faces on that side of the ball. But either way, a huge win to start the year for the Niners. Speaking of Jake Moody, Eddie Pinheiro has been signed to the Niners. He replaces Jake Moody. This is San Francisco's new kicker. He is top 5 all-time in field goal percentage. That's a big reason why the Niners brought him in, and all eyes will be on him, and he will feel the pressure. Split the uprights, do your job. That's all that we ask, and don't make us go crazy like Moody made us go crazy because it was a maddening Moody experience. The Saints in week 1, they did lose to the Arizona Cardinals 20-13, but a lot of people thought they were going to get blown out. They didn't. They hung tough. I thought Spencer Rattler played solid. Now, his passer rating, his QBR, his quarterback rating, they weren't great, but he distributed the football well. Of note, his yards per completion was under 5, so he threw a lot of short passes, short completions, and short checkdowns. The Saints do have some explosive weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but at wide receiver, a lot of their receivers are shorter. That could benefit this Niners defense. New Orleans, though, they did run the ball. And of note, this is Kellen Moore's offense. Philadelphia last year, with him calling the plays, Saquon Barkley ran for more than 2,000 yards. And so Kellen Moore, he does like to run it. He's kind of altered his approach offensively a little bit over time, but the Saints in week 1, 22 totes for a $107, nearly 5 yards per carry. New Orleans' defense did give up 146 rushing yards. That came on 5.4 yards per carry. The Niners would love to get this ground game going, especially with the backup quarterback. And the Saints team now, as compared to last year, a much better coached team. They're going to be so much more prepared than they have been in previous years because Kellen Moore is running a clean shop. With that, who you got in this game? Type SF for the Niners, NO for the New Orleans Saints. Get those game predictions down in the comment section for me. Now, coming up next, my keys to the game for San Francisco to pull out a victory, to drop the Saints to 0-2, and to start the year 2-0. I'm telling you, it is possible, even though the Niners are going to be without Brock Purdy and George Kittle. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. This episode of the 49ers Report brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Show me that you know ball. Sign up with Prize Picks. Join the millions of users nationwide and go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. When you use the code CLNS and you place your first $5 lineup, you get $50 instantly. Prize Picks is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks puts their users first. All withdrawals, fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup is not perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Our lineup for week 2. Let's go Eddie Pinheiro. More than 1.5 field goals made. San Francisco could move the ball, but they might have to settle for field goals with Mac Jones, and so Eddie P is going to be put to the test. Ricky Pearsall, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Can he get into the end zone for the first time this year? And then the special this week, Travis Kelce, more than a half receiving yard. Play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups. It's real money sports action made easy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that code CLNS. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, to the back half of our preview here. This is the 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. I'm glad all of you are hanging out here for our Niners-Saints preview. This is how the 49ers can win this game on the road, tough environment, without the likes of Brock Purdy, because Mac Jones is going to get the start for head coach Kyle Shanahan. Major key to the game, number 1, as I'm about to give you evidence behind this point. The Niners must protect Mac Jones. Keep in mind, he is a statue in the pocket. He cannot hurt you with his feet or his legs. He cannot extend plays to make plays downfield improvisationally like Brock Purdy can. Brock Purdy is such a sneaky, good, underrated athlete, and his feet, his ability to extend plays, it has bailed this bad Niners offensive line out time and time again. He did it in week 1, yet he was still pressured on a career high for his dropbacks. 57.9%, highest rate of his career. Under pressure, Purdy, all things considered, did fare pretty well. 13 of 20, 126 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Mac Jones and how he handles pressure, going to be a big storyline in this football game. And this is something that Kyle Shanahan and this Niners offense has really struggled with in the past. They have to handle pressure, handle blitzes, and protect Mac Jones in order to win this game. Because here is how Mac fared against pressure looks in 2024. When he was kept clean, he completed 72.1% of his passes, 1,438 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was under pressure, his completion rate went down to 38.9%, 243 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks. When he was not blitzed, he completed 69% of his throws, 1,100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was blitzed, 56.6%, 536 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 picks. In 2023, Mac Jones against pressure, when he was kept clean, 71.8% completion, more than 1,600 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was not blitzed, 65.9%, 1,600 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks. But when he was put under pressure, completion rate plummeted again to 46.2%, 477 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 picks. When he was blitzed, also struggled here, 61.7%, 472 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Mac Jones and this Niners team, they have to be better prepared against pressure looks, blitzes, and they have to protect him if they want to win this game. Which brings me to this. Number 2, Mac Jones has to avoid the back-breaking, momentum-altering turnover. This can win or lose you the game, and it can really cost you in a big spot. The numbers that I just broke down give us context for how Mac fares, but also how he's prone to turning the football over at such an alarming rate. And this is something that has driven his coaching staffs crazy, and this is why he hasn't been able to solidify himself as a long-term starter. He puts the ball in harm's way at inopportune times. He gives it away, and it's led to a lot of bad losses. 20-29 for his career. So you love the experience that he's had, but 54 touchdowns to 44 picks, that is not a great touchdown to interception ratio. The completion percentage, just shy of 66, that's not bad. Yards per attempt could be better, not awful, 6.7. His passer rating, 84.9. Backup numbers. He's also fumbled on top of the picks 57 times. Again, how often he's given it up, bad English, it's been alarming. Saints do have a new defensive coordinator under first-year head coach Kellen Moore. Guess who it is? Former Niners assistant Brandon Staley, who used to be the head coach of the Chargers, defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. He will be aggressive. He will blitz. He will come up with different looks throughout the game. He will have a plan against Mac Jones. And it's not like Mac has no tape out on him. There's a lot of tape out on Mac Jones. Because you are playing a backup, and because this player is so valuable, we need another big game for Christian McCaffrey. I know that Christian McCaffrey has really carried the water for this Niners offense so often when he's been on the field. He's just a great player, and this is what he's capable of doing, even when he didn't play his best game. Even though his yards per carry over expected numbers were not good in week 1. Even though he didn't look to me like the 2023 Christian McCaffrey. This is how great of a player he is. This is how impactful he can still be at this juncture of his career when things for the offense aren't necessarily going that well, when the offensive line isn't blocking that well. He still had 22 carries for 69 yards, 9 catches, and 73 yards. More than 140 all-purpose yards. And Christian McCaffrey didn't even play his best game. San Francisco as a team averaged 3.3 yards per carry. They have to be. And I mean they have to be better. The Cardinals in week 1, they averaged 5.5 yards per carry. How can the Niners' run game exploit the Saints' rushing defense? Huge storyline in this game. Kyle Juszczyk, Ricky Pearsall, and Kendrick Bourne, less than a week then after the Niners signed him, have to step up and they have to play well. And specifically with Kyle Juszczyk, without George Kittle, Juice is going to get some tight end run. Now, Luke Farrell will be the top tight end. Jake Tonches, week 1's hero, will be the backup tight end. Braden Willis is going to be elevated from the practice squad to the active game day roster. But in order to offer the Saints defense a different look, different personnel packages, and to just put your best players in a position to succeed and give them an opportunity to be successful and make an impact on the game, Kyle Juszczyk's going to play some tight end, and I'm fine with that. I mean, there was a psycho play that Kyle Shanahan drew up in the first week of the year where Kyle Juszczyk ran a delayed wheel route after he was a blocker downfield. So he comes out of the backfield, he fakes as a blocker, and then he runs down the sideline, and Purdy was able to hit him on that wheel route. Like, you have to come up with those types of plays, especially explosive plays, to put your best players in a position to succeed. Utilize the versatility and the special playmaking ability of Kyle Juszczyk outside of just having him be deployed as a lead blocker. Ricky Pearsall, on the other hand, he was terrific in week 1. He's got an opportunity here to really help out his backup quarterback against the Seahawks. He looked to be that first-round pick that the Niners envisioned him being when they took him in the 2024 draft. He looked to be the number 1 wideout for the Niners that they desperately need right now without the likes of Brandon Ayuk, with Jawan Jennings hurt. We'll see if he plays in this game. 7 targets, 4 catches, a $108, an average of 27, and then obviously on that final drive, the big 45-yarder downfield. And I know that Kendrick Bourne was signed earlier this week, less than 7 days before he's going to suit up for San Francisco, back in the number 84. He's back. He knows this offense. He knows this scheme. Obviously, his learning curve is being sped up, but the Niners need him because they're shorthanded on offense. And then key to the game, number 5. Can Robert Saleh's defense do it again? I was so impressed with how San Francisco's defense played in week 1. And this is the beauty of great coaching. When you have one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL, which the Niners have, you have a chance to win week in and week out. And we can see performances like we saw in week 1, where with a bunch of new faces, with a bunch of young players, and a handful of rookies, you can correct what you did poorly last year. Stop the run, hold up on third downs, get off the field, hold up in the red zone, and then lean on your superstars in Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, Diamador Lenore to make game-changing plays. And for Bosa, he closed that game out. But also, the beauty of great coaching is speeding up the development of your young players, having them feel confident enough to play well, putting them in a position to succeed. Mykel Williams, C.J. West, Alfred Collins, Upton Stout, Marquis Siegel, they all played for this Niners defense, and they all showed glimpses of becoming really impactful players for this team. And this is a Saints offense that didn't really push the ball downfield in week 1. They did have success running the ball, but they don't have a good offensive line. This Niners defense can really carry San Francisco to a week 2 victory. And it's just really important for San Francisco right now, with these injuries, to play as much complimentary football as they can. Saints players to watch. Tight end Jawan Johnson led the team in receiving in week 1. Chris Olave, when he's healthy, he's dealt with a lot of concussion issues. Really special player in this league. Rashid Shaheed is so dynamic, elusive, and electrifying. He's got vertical speed to take the top off of the defense. He will serve as that vertical option for the Saints offense. Alvin Kamara's been in the league for a long time. He's still highly impactful. And Cam Jordan, one of the best Saints players in the history of that organization, he's been in the league for a long while. He's long in the tooth, but he can still bring it. I want you to predict the score for this Niners-Saints game. How are you feeling about San Francisco going on the road here in week 2? Share your thoughts with me. I do think if the Niners can play a clean game, they can win. No turnovers, no missed field goals, win the turnover battle. If you do turn the rock over, convert on third downs, convert in the red area, they're the more talented team, they're the deeper team, and they have the better coaching staff. Once again, just like week 1, when I picked the Niners to win 20-18, I think this too is a low-scoring game. I think this too is a close game. Give me the Niners 23-19. San Francisco goes to 2-0. Good stuff, everybody. Shout out to the recent commenters. Mario Martinez, Tryon Ryan, Joe Sierra, Dirty D, Jeannie Wyatt back in the building. Eric Bergeron, Kevin Andrews, Couch 702, what is up? Jerry Garcia, John Craighead getting some predictions in. Jerry, Niners 24, Saints 19. John, 17-13 Niners. So you guys are with me. Close game, low scoring game. And the odds makers agree. That's why the over-under for this game is very, very low. So we're about to move on to segment number 2. No super chats yet. That's bad news. Because earlier this week, Saints Now went live. They got up to $212 in super chats.
Smoking us.
Yeah, they're smoking us. They're smoking on that Niner pack. We want to smoke on that Saints pack. We can't go down here at Chat Sports and on the field Sunday. So let's overtake them for that number. All right, segment number 2. Some good news, some bad news to hit for San Francisco. John Lynch just spoke moments ago, and we have another, maybe more encouraging Brock Purdy update. Candy! My guys, 21-17 Niners. Candy, we're sending you that football. All right, segment number 2. I think we put it in the mail last week. Segment number 2. Let's get it underway. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and here we go. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. As always, thank you so much for hanging out here with me. Coming up over the next several minutes, for the Niners going into this Week 2 tilt against the Saints, we have some good news to get to and some bad news to uncover as well. I want to begin here, though. Brock Purdy out. George Kittle not playing. For all of the detractors and the haters out there, for Niner fans who are doubting this team, doubt San Francisco. I dare you. If you think the Niners will win this game without Brock Purdy, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Speaking of the aforementioned Brock Purdy, what a week this has been with all of the different injury updates and developments. On Sunday, leads that epic comeback victory over Seattle. Monday, You're feeling good about that Niners win, especially with how Purdy closed it out. That's why you pay him big-time dollars, right? That's why you gave him a bag to come through in a moment like that. We then learn of toe and shoulder injuries. On Wednesday, Kyle Shanahan said he's a long shot to play against New Orleans. He might miss multiple games. Then on Thursday, we got more of a definitive report from Ian Rappaport that Purdy with turf toe is expected to be out anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. Bad news for the Niners here. I just wanted to see Purdy grow off of that week 1 performance, where he also answered questions about how he can perform late in games. But how many times have you heard people say, Brock Purdy is carried? How about how he carried the Niners? I just wanted to continue to see the evolving nature of Brock Purdy's game, how he can continue to be the face of this franchise. And so if he's out for a long while, obviously it can impact the win-loss column, but it just impacts the identity and the early season momentum that this Niners team can really establish with the easiest schedule in the NFL. And so he could miss all these games at Saints, Cardinals, Jags, at Rams, at Buccaneers. And why this is so unfortunate, just got that huge contract. He's able to mount such a thrilling comeback on the road against the hated Seattle Seahawks. He answered those late game question marks about how he performs when trailing, when the game is close, in crunch time, without stud playmakers around him. His injury history is becoming a little bit concerning for a player who's making this much money. And the injury luck continues to be bad and awful for San Francisco. Every single year since Kyle Shanahan's been the head coach, top 10 in injury rate outside of 2023. And in 2023, what happened? Niners made it to the Super Bowl. They should have won that game. Now, as unfortunate as the Brock Purdy injury news is, did John Lynch on Thursday offer a more positive update? This could be big. He called Purdy's injury timeline more so week to week as compared to Rappaport saying he could be out 2 weeks to more than a month. Here's what Lynch said on the radio on KNBR. I talked to our doctor, who's the foot and ankle specialist in the NFL. What we're dealing with is kind of a week-to-week thing. He's doing everything he can to get back out there as soon as possible. Going into the MRI scans and all that, the feeling was more on the positive side than what it could have been going into the MRI. What we don't want to hear pertaining to this Brock Purdy injury is an IR trip. That would mean he's out at least 4 games and has to miss the designated 4 games. If he continues to be week to week, that's obviously a positive because then the Niners and their medical staff, they have hope that he can come back sooner rather than later. And I know a lot of people are wondering, what the hell is turf toe? I asked Grok to explain it to me like I'm dumb, and here's what Grok had to say. Turf toe is when you hurt the big toe joint where your toe connects to your foot. Imagine you're running or jumping, especially on hard surfaces like artificial turf, and you push off with your toe too hard or it gets bent back too far. Ouch. That sprains the ligaments, the stretchy bands holding the joint together around the joint. It's common in athletes like football, soccer players, because they're always pushing off their toes. It feels like pain, swelling, and stiffness in the big toe, and it can make walking or running hurt a lot. Think of it like your toes saying, nope, I'm not bending that way. Treatment, difficult. Rest, ice, maybe a brace or special shoe to keep the toe from moving too much. In bad cases, you might need a doctor or even surgery if it's really torn up. Recovery can take a few weeks or longer if it's severe, so basically don't mess with your big toe. It's more important than it looks. I think the positive here too, what John Lynch said obviously, but the fact that Purdy was able to finish that game. I mean, shoot, he was running off the field, running and jumping. Now, may have gotten a little bit of an injection to absorb some of that pain, but if it was torn, I think we'd know the severity of it because Purdy might have landed on IR. We must all continue to pray, though, to the football gods, again, for San Francisco, that Purdy can be back soon. Before we continue to push forward on today's show, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. All of our content is free. We'll never put any of this stuff behind a paywall because we care about you, and we want you to get this content for free. And we're hitting you with all types of content every single day year-round. It keeps the content free if you subscribe. It keeps the studio lights on. It keeps us improving things like our audio. So lock us in. Let's get to 169,000 subscribers. All right, with Mac Jones here. This is why I think the 49ers can still win without Brock Purdy and with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a very experienced player. He started 49 games between his stints with the New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kyle Shanahan really liked him for a reason. He looked at Mac as a player who could run his offense, play point guard, distribute the ball, get the ball out on time early, in rhythm and accurately to playmakers so that they can pick up yards after the catch. We saw in the preseason with that long ball to Jordan Watkins, we've seen throughout his career, he has a solid long ball. And this is one of the biggest things that I look for young quarterbacks. Can you layer throws? Can you throw with touch to that second and third level? Purdy does it as good as anybody in the NFL. Mac can do it well too. He had a really good training camp. And here's the thing with Mac. He didn't have quality coaching, quality complementary pieces around him with New England, and he didn't have stability there or with Jacksonville. Now Mac Jones has quality coaching. We saw what quality coaching can do with a young and experienced defense in week 1 with Robert Saleh. We've seen how Shanahan can elevate quarterbacks like C.J. Beathard, Nick Mullins, Brock Purdy with quality coaching. You look at Kevin O'Connell. He's been able to maximize quarterbacks with Minnesota with quality coaching. And so quality coaching can bring the best out of a quarterback. I will say this. I wish that Mac had George Kittle because Kittle on the field solves so many problems. He helps you with protection in the pass game. He helps you as a run blocker. He can run all types of routes. He also serves as a great security and safety valve. But then also, he's so good in the red zone, as we saw in week 1. And so I wish Kittle was able to play in this game because that would be such a great weapon for Mac. But I also want to say this with Mac Jones. The Niners and Kyle Shanahan have to come up with a plan for how to protect Mac Jones, how to keep him clean in the pocket, and how to handle the blitz and pressure. Because Mac Jones is a completely different quarterback when he has a clean pocket compared to when he's pressured. In 2024, when Mac was kept clean for Jacksonville, he completed 72.1% of his passes, more than 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was under pressure, the completion rate plummeted to sub 39%, 243 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks. When Mac was not blitzed, he completed 69%, 1,100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was blitzed, completion rate went down again, 56.6%, 536 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In 2023 with New England, same numbers, same story. When Mac was kept clean, he completed nearly 72% of his throws, more than 1,600 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. When he was under pressure, the completion rate dipped again to 46.2%, 477 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 picks. When he was not blitzed, he completed nearly 66% of his passes, more than 1,600 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks. When he was blitzed, again, completion rate decreased to sub 62%, 472 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. So this Niners offense under Kyle Shanahan really has struggled at times with their scheme protection-wise, the overall play of the offensive line, handling creative looks from the defense and pressure looks from the defense. And with Mac, sometimes he doesn't trust it. Sometimes he can get panicky in the pocket. And when he is under duress, man, as evidenced by the numbers that we just showed you, he turns the football over at an alarming rate. And that oftentimes is the difference between winning and losing games, because when you win the turnover battle at the NFL level, you win about 80% of the time. Our sponsor for today's San Francisco 49ers report, our friends at Chubby's. Right now, you can get $10 off using the code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. The leaves are turning, the temperatures are dropping, and the weekend air is getting that nice autumn crisp. Just because the weather is changing over doesn't mean you have to pack away the fun. Chubby's is here to make sure your fall wardrobe is looking tight with soft, stretchy, fall-ready staples built for maximum comfort and minimal effort. Mark your calendars. The Chubbies Fall Collection drops September 9th, and it's packed with cozy gear that brings the metaphorical and real heat. But later this month, they're launching the new Comfort Collection featuring the Everywhere Jogger. It's the perfect pant for impromptu naps, weekend errands, everything in between, like watching some football. I love all of their products. The original stretch shorts, the classic line swim trunks, the Chubbies Performance Polo. So whether you're layering up for tailgates, lounging through lazy Sundays, or just leaning fully into fall comfort, Chubbies has you covered. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners $10 off your order with the code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. Banged up at marquee positions when you factor in the matchup between New Orleans and San Francisco here. This is the Saints injury report. Julian Blackmon going to go on season-ending injured reserve. He was a recent pickup for New Orleans. He's now out with a shoulder injury. Thales Fuaga, really good young offensive lineman. We'll see if he plays with that knee. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter of week 1. Trevor Penning did not play in week 1, dealing with a toe injury. Defensive end Chase Young, former Niner, dealing with the problematic calf. Zach Wood, Velus Jones, Jordan Howden, dealing with elbow, knee, and oblique injuries, but those latter three most likely going to play in this game. And I know that Chase Young's Niners career wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. When he's engaged, when he's healthy, Chase Young can be a force at defensive end. He's a freak athlete. He has good speed for his size, has a lot of strength. When he turned it on with the Niners, opposite of Nick Bosa, productive player. Now, at times, the motor wasn't there. The hustle wasn't there. We saw that in the NFC Championship game when he was lollygagging to the football. Unacceptable, right? But then in the Super Bowl, especially in that first half, he was really, really good. And this is a big deal if he does not play because this Niners offensive line struggled in week 1. Brock Purdy was pressured the highest percentage of his career at nearly 60%. He was hit 8 times. And Mac Jones does not move well, and as we talked about earlier, doesn't handle pressure well. And then remaining in the trenches here, this Niners defensive line was awesome against the run and providing pressure on Sam Darnold last week. And Robert Saleh did a really good job of mixing up looks with the defense to the point where Sam Darnold wasn't always trusting what he was seeing. And 2/5 of the Saints offensive line is banged up, and Cesar Ruiz, another starter, he kind of stinks. So San Francisco has the opportunity here to really take over this game in the trenches. The Niners pass rush grades in week 1. There was a lot of good here. Nick Bosa, 75.6. He was so elite in that game, even though it didn't always show on the stat sheet and the box score. Yetur Gross-Matos led the Niners with 3 pressures. He had a 74.2 pass rush grade. Bryce Huff, he was in the green, 65.8. Jordan Elliott from the interior, 63. And what do you find in pickup Sam Okuwano has been? He could play defensive end, defensive tackle, and in week 1, he forced that fumble that Marquise Siegel recovered. Spencer Rattler is a player who, like Mac Jones, doesn't want to get hit, doesn't handle pressure well, and the biggest thing with Rattler, when he feels pressure and senses that the pocket is collapsing, his eyes always revert down. He looks to run or he's looking for the immediate check down. In week 1, his average yards per completion was under 5. And so the Saints didn't really take a lot of shots downfield. Bad offensive line play. He was under duress, but he also kind of gets happy feet in the pocket. And so this is a way for the Niners to really grab this game by the neck and take it over. Predict the score for me. Niners, Saints. Let your voices be heard. Get those predictions in. And as always, join the conversation down in the comments section. Couple of big super chats coming in. I love this one because it's 4-9 for the 49ers. Night Shift Garage, $49 super chat. Pound Brian Robinson and Spare CMC Also, defend for Rattler as a runner. Bang, bang. Exactly. Like I just said, he's going to try to take off when the pocket starts to deteriorate. And with Christian McCaffrey, he still had almost 60 touches in that game. And the Niners, I think, played 70 to 73 snaps. I'm glad that the calf held up well with all of that workload on the plate of Christian McCaffrey. But you'd like to see Brian Robinson a little bit more. But McCaffrey is so good, it's hard to take him off the field. Candy! $50 super chat. Niner gang always faithful to the Bay. Glad you're feeling better, Chip. Thanks for the show as always. Chip looks, feels, and sounds a lot better.
Oh, yes. Appreciate it, Candy. Thank you so much.
Candy, you're a real one. He's still getting rid of like the voice, the sick voice a little bit.
Yeah, a little like, post-cold when you're getting over it. Still a little bit here and there, but feeling 100%. So
he's holding up. Candy, thank you for that. And then Jeannie Wyatt, welcome back to the show, Jeannie. Hope all is well. I know you're dealing with some things for a little while, but we love you. Bang, bang, 49ers. This is why offensive line is extremely important. Mac Jones can't run, so offensive line needs to protect him more than they ever do. Thank God by Moody. Jeannie, you're bringing the heat, and you're making fantastic points right there. Protect Mac and play out of your minds. I'm talking to this Niners offensive line. And Jeannie, I'm with you. The entire fan base is with you. Thank God Jake Moody is gone. All right, our super chat battle. Saints now earlier this week got up to 212. We have some work to do. We're still losing, and we do not accept losses here on this program. Let's get that victory. You send in a super chat. It goes a long way in supporting the show. We get bragging rights, but it keeps the content free. It keeps the channel growing. It keeps our company growing to the point where when I started covering the Niners here in 2021, I was employee 8. Now we're over 40. We had 3 studios at that time. Now we have 15 just here at Chat Sports HQ. We opened up another office in Cincinnati. And so all of our content is free. When you send in donations, we really appreciate it. It's pretty much like tipping your bartender. So we appreciate that. All right, one segment left to get to, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be joined by Trace Gerard, also known here on the show as Trizzy Trace, former Niners Report producer, now the full-time host of Saints Now. He is a diehard, lifelong Saints fan. And what I've said here on this show, on top of doing my hits with Larry Krueger and doing the content creator collaboration, I want to bring on other hosts here at Chat Sports and display their talents, but to give you a look behind enemy lines for what to expect from the opposition. So we're going to do a little bit of a different Niners Saints preview here, with the Saints perspective being heavy here with our next segment, and it's coming up right now. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. Going into this Week 2 matchup between the 49ers and the Saints in New Orleans at the Superdome. And speaking of that matchup, we're going to preview it here on the show. And I'm going to bring on Trizzy Trace, former producer of this show, otherwise known as Trace Gerard. He is the host of our Saints channel, Saints Now. And one of my goals this year, mentioned this going into the lead up to Week 1, Niners-Seahawks, when we brought on Will Ortner, the host of Seahawks Today, bring on other hosts and other content creators here at Chat Sports. It gives you insight for what to expect from the opposition. It gives you a peek behind enemy lines, and I think the insight is great, but also I think we have some really talented people here at Chat Sports who know ball and love ball. So, Trace, I want to start here. This Saints team last year, they get off to a 2-0 start, including a dominant victory over the Dallas Cowboys in Week 2. They beat the Carolina Panthers in Week 1. They scored 40-plus points in each of those games. And then after that, they didn't win a game for about 2 months. Dennis Allen, the head coach, got fired. When I watched this Saints team in Week 1 this year as they took the Cardinals down to the end of that game, nearly tied it at the end of regulation, what stood out to me, how much better of a coach team they were in this new regime with Kellen Moore. It just seemed like a team with more synergy, a team that was more organized, and a team that was much more prepared and fighting for their head coach as compared to what we saw last year when it got sloppy. And It got a little bit hectic under Dennis Allen, where things were just falling apart at the seams.
Yeah, I think hectic is a really good word to use. If anything, it's an understatement. I mean, a 7-game losing streak after you start off at a historically high clip on offense is absolutely just unacceptable, which is why he inevitably got fired. And, like you said, going into this year, the New Orleans Saints are much more motivated, and it feels like they have a lot more energy going into this season, led by Kellen Moore, because there's more youth. He's the youngest head coach in the National Football League. He's brought in Brandon Staley, who's a familiar name to Niners fans, as the defensive coordinator to be a guy to modernize the defense and make it a more useful scheme, because traditionally with Dennis Allen, it's been that 4-3 base scheme, but now we're seeing the Saints move to that 3-4 defense with Delonte Taylor playing that star role. So overall, it feels like this team is more motivated. It feels like there's better leadership, and it feels like there's a vision and a plan for this team, because Dennis Allen, I'll say it, I've said it before, I'll say it again, not a head coach, but a hell of a coordinator. And I think that when he got the head coaching job, it just was too much on his plate.
Big storyline for this game. Brock Purdy out. He has a form of turf toe, and so he's going to miss the next 2 to 5 weeks. Mac Jones is in. And in week 1 against the Seahawks, Brock Purdy was pressured at the highest clip of his NFL career. Nearly 60% of his dropbacks, the Seahawks were able to generate pressure on him, and he was also hit 8 times. So with Mac Jones in there, Trace, Brock Purdy does such a great job of bailing this Niners offensive line out, which for a long time under Kyle Shanahan, they don't really prioritize the offensive line. It has been a pretty average unit. And Brock does such a great job of creating out of structure, improvisationally, being able to create plays and buy time with his feet, with his legs, to either throw the ball downfield or to pick up noteworthy yards and first downs with his feet. Mac Jones, on the other hand, though, he is a statue in the pocket. He is immobile, and that is not a part of his game. Now, he has pretty solid pocket feel and pocket mobility, but he is not going to create plays out of structure. And so the Niners are very familiar with Brandon Staley. Obviously, he wasn't the defensive coordinator for San Francisco last year. It was Nick Sorensen, but Staley helped on that side of the ball, and he did help with some of the development of the defensive backs. When you think about what Staley did when he was the DC with the Rams, Niner fans very familiar with that. What he did as the defensive play caller with the Chargers. He is pretty exotic. He is pretty creative. What did you see from him week 1, and what's he going to bring to this week 2 game as the Saints go up against the Niners? Because I know a lot of people have ripped him as the head coach, but he has been a pretty good and successful coordinator because he does get exotic and aggressive at times.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for the New Orleans Saints going into this year was defensively, they were really, really good at getting pressures on the quarterback, but they were not finishing their dinner and turning those pressures into production. So there was a lot of issues actually getting sack production on the Saints defensive line last year. But this year, in week 1, we saw the Saints get 5 sacks for 33 total yards on Kyler Murray, which is really, really impressive considering this was a roster who last year was really, really bad in getting sacks. It is also really impressive considering how mobile and how elusive Kyler Murray is as a quarterback. And so the big difference between the Saints defense this year versus last year is that base 3-4 defense where you have a 5-man front with your 2 stand-up edge rushers. It's allowing guys like Cam Jordan to find a career resurgence, 1.5 sacks last year after I think only having 5.5, or 1.5 in week 1 versus 5 last year. He was much, much better. He looked a lot younger. He was showing that he can still be a good force on the defense. Carl Granderson was also really effective in rushing the passer as well. 1.5 sacks for him and Jordan, so 3 total combined. I think for the Saints defense, as long as they can put pressure on Mac Jones, like you said, he is a statue in the pocket, but a big thing to monitor, Niners fans, Chase Young, y'all know injuries with him. He is right now dealing with a little bit of a calf injury. It's not expected to be long-term, but on the Wednesday injury report, he did not participate. So that's definitely something to monitor. And if he's on the field, I do think the pass rush is better, but even if he's off the field, you still got solid production out of Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson. So the pass rush is the most notably different thing that I noticed in week 1 versus last year.
Good stuff right there. That's the purpose of this preview, to give Niner fans some insight as to what the Saints are all about. To the offensive side of the ball, Kellen Moore, obviously an offensive guy, played quarterback at Boise State, was a backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, an OC for Dallas, OC for the Chargers, OC last year for the Eagles, and a lot of his offenses have ranked within the top 10 as far as total offense goes. And so he's looked at as the hopeful quarterback whisperer for this next generation and new era of New Orleans Saints football. Spencer Rattler, he was a 5-star recruit in high school. He goes to Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley at the time, doesn't play well. Then he gets unseated by Caleb Williams. And so Rattler then transfers to South Carolina. I thought he made some improvements there. The Saints take him in the mid-rounds going into 2024, and he got a little bit of action last year. He wins the job over Tyler Shuck, a second-round pick for New Orleans in the 2025 NFL Draft. Just give us a Spencer Rattler scouting report. How did he look week one?
Look, so Spencer Rattler, I mean, he is still that player that you saw going into Oklahoma that was like exciting. You're like, dude, you can throw the ball all over the yard. He can toss the pill. But the big thing for him is he is so like scrambled whenever pressure gets in his face. He reacts very, very poorly to pressure. And for what it's worth, credit to him in week one, only got sacked once, but he is throughout his career had a major problem panicking as soon as the pass rush gets in. He also weirdly, this is like a thing to watch. He slips all the time. Like, I don't know if it's cleats, I don't know if it's turf, but he slips like crazy in the pocket. So you'll see him trying to move around, trying to get some space, and then he'll just like kind of fall and do something weird with his arm, and the ball just ends up on the turf. It's weird, but he's a player who did show that he grew from last year to week one this year. No touchdowns this year, no interceptions on the season so far. He was okay, but he definitely looked like he was a guy who you're like, yep, that was a 5th-round pick, solid backup, but I don't know if he's the answer. Still, jury's out on him, but I don't confidently believe in Spencer Rattler to be the guy, at least after the week one matchup. Sure, he did look better, but I mean, if you bring pressure, if you're able to create problems for the deep ball on the Rashid Shaheed route, because that's going to be one that they're going to target a lot, you will be able to beat this offense for the Niners defense, especially with talent like Nick Bosa, Jair Brown, Fred Warner. I mean, you have some really good players. Yamador Lenore. There are weapons on the defense that could cause some serious problems offensively for Spencer Rattler. I mean, he can be a good thrower of the football. He just hasn't been consistent for 4 quarters, and that's been the theme for him. He'll either start fast or end fast, but he just can't put it together for full 4 quarters.
You used a word there, weapons. And while the Saints' offensive line does have some question marks, we'll get to that after our sponsor. Weaponry-wise, they're in a pretty good spot. Mm-hmm. Rashid Shaheed, one of your favorite players.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think he's actually one of the more electrifying, underrated players across the NFL. We're talking about a speedster who can certainly get vertical. Alvin Kamara's been in the league for a long time. He's still a very successful player, and he can hurt you as a runner and as a pass catcher. Jawan Taylor had a really good week one. You're hoping that Chris Olave can escape these concussion issues because when right, he is a really solid player too. So Spencer Rattler, he might get a little bit scatterbrained when pressure hits, but he does have some solid weapons to work with, and so too does Kellen Moore.
Yeah, and Juwan Johnson for the tight end. It was the #1 target for the receiving option for the Saints, so they expect him to get a lot of action, especially being one of the biggest guys that is a pass catcher on the roster. The Saints have a ton of speed. They have a lot of elusiveness. They have a lot of athleticism on the offense, but there's not a lot of size. So those 50-50 balls, those jump balls, those contested catches, a lot of those are either going to go to Juwan Johnson or Devon Vele because Chris Olave not that big. Rashid Shaheed not that big. Brandon Cooks not that big. So you have a lot of speed that can create space, but if the space is limited, they could really, really suffer in that regard.
Yeah, interesting position to watch there as far as getting some of that height at wide receiver going into the draft because Kellen Moore was able to use A.J. Brown in a really good way last year. Dallas Goedert, who has some size at that tight end spot. So depending on how New Orleans fares here in 2025, a tall, athletic wide receiver could be a big draft need for New Orleans going into the 2026 draft. All right, more to get to here on the show, and you can continue to see Trace Gerard's beautiful mustache coming up just around the corner. Let's get to our sponsor, though, Prize Picks. We appreciate them for making today's show possible. And this is the best daily fantasy sports app in the game, and you have to hop on board. Look, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. It's the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states across America, and Prize Picks always puts their users first. As a consumer, don't you want to feel valued? Prize Picks values you. That's why millions of people have signed up. All withdrawals, fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. So download the app today, use the code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Looking ahead to Sunday's matchup. Kickers are people too, and the Niners have a new kicker. Let's go Eddie Pinheiro. More than 1.5 field goals made with Mac Jones playing at quarterback over Brock Purdy. I think San Francisco can move the ball, but they might have to settle for some field goals. So I like Eddie P to show everybody what a good field goal kicker looks like for the Niners, because we have Jake Moody PTSD. Ricky Pearsall, more than a half rushing and receiving touchdown. He was incredible in that week 1 bout against Seattle. And then the special here for week 2. Travis Kelce. I know he's trending toward being washed, but he's going to have more than a half receiving yards. Super Bowl 59 rematch. Let's go with more than a half receiving yard for Travis Kelce in this game. Get $50 when you play $5. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Show myself and Trace that you know ball and take your sports knowledge to Prize Picks. All right. The Saints offensive line, Trace. Not only is it a question mark, and it has been in recent years. So what's the overall offensive line outlook, and how are those players faring up health-wise?
So health-wise, Trevor Penning did not play in week 1. He's dealing with a turf toe injury. So
Brock
here
Purdy.
we are, turf toe. It ruins week 2, I guess.
Yeah.
But Talanoa Hufanga, he left the game in week 1 a little bit early with a hamstring or a knee injury. It was a leg injury for Fuaga, and he left the game and sat on the bench for pretty much the whole fourth quarter. Like, Asim Richards, a player that the Saints traded for with the Cowboys, was the guy who filled in for Fuaga. So from left to right, if you don't see Fuaga or Penning, it would be Kelvin Banks Jr., the rookie left tackle that the Saints took in the first round out of Texas. And then you would have Dylan Radins as your left guard, a player the Saints signed in free agency. Eric McCoy, a really, really talented center, right in the middle. And then you have Cesar Ruiz, who I think personally is a major weak point on the Saints offensive line. And then at the right tackle position, if Fuaga can't go, it's going to be Asim Richards. All in all, for the offensive line, I thought that they had some really good moments for the week 1 matchup against the Cardinals. They have a good pass rush too, with guys like Calais Campbell and what name's slipping me. They have a couple of different really talented pass rushers on the Cardinals
Jordan
defense.
Birch out of Oregon was one of the highest graded pass rushers in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, they had a
third-round pick.
Had a really, really good day rushing the passer. Again, only got 1 sack, which is nice, but they spent a lot of time in the Saints' backfield. And for the 49ers, if they want to find some success against this Saints team, I am looking at Nick Bosa. Honestly, not even going for Kelvin Banks Jr. because he's been a really, really strong part of this team. One of the highest graded offensive linemen in the preseason. Had a really strong week 1 showing. I would actually send him over to the side of Asim Richards. Okay. A little bit more experience over there, but I don't think he's nearly as talented of a player as Kelvin Banks. So if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm the 49ers defense, I'm looking to target that side of the field. And I'm also, and I hate to say it, I love Kool-Aid McKinstry. He did not have a great day in week 1. So I think for the 49ers defense, if you want to win, beat them on the side of Asim Richards and send a lot of pressure in that regard. And I'm not going to say pick on Kool-Aid McKinstry because he still can make plays, but I don't think he had the greatest outing in week 1. I thought he gave up a lot of big plays. And for this offensive line, that's where it all starts for the Saints, because if the pressure is there and the Niners can get home, then this is going to be a long 4 quarters for the black and gold. However, for the scarlet and gold, I think that there's a real opportunity to build some more defensive confidence and to get some more juju and that good mojo going that you need as you progress through the season, especially considering, love the Saints, we're not a good team. We're not a good roster. I don't think there's much of an expectation to beat the Niners, but this is a good opportunity for both teams. 1, to get a good litmus test for the Saints, but 2, the Niners to really establish some confidence and honestly beat up on a pretty poor roster.
You talked about a couple of familiar names going into the pre-draft process. We talked a lot about Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle out of Texas, as a potential target for San Francisco if they wanted to bulk up the offensive line. Of course, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch didn't listen to me. Instead, they went with an edge rusher. Now, Mykel Williams certainly fulfilling a need for San Francisco, but good to see Kelvin Banks off to a good start. I liked him in the pre-draft process. Another player who Niner fans are going to see in action in this game, who played for the Niners last year. I thought it was going to be a good value signing, but it wasn't. Isaac Yiadom. He's playing nickelback for New Orleans. Saints, keys to the game coming up here in just a bit from you. I want you to start racking your brain a little bit to get those Saints keys to the game, because I'm going to relay my keys to the game from the Niner standpoint here, Trace, because I know you're working on a Niner-Saints preview as well. Real quick, my 5 Niners keys to the game. Protect Mac Jones. He's not mobile. Brock Purdy was pressured on nearly 60% of his dropbacks in week 1. If the same happens to Mac Jones, could be a long day for this Niners offense, because Mac is also turnover prone. And with him, he needs to avoid the back-breaking turnovers. He has been prone to turning the rock over, either throwing picks or fumbling the ball, especially when the defense is able to generate pressure. As a safety valve and an overall weapon, we saw Christian McCaffrey in week 1 have more than 140 all-purpose yards. It's going to be really important for CMC to play well again, because Mac is going to have to rely on him, with the Niners having question marks at wide receiver. Through the air, expect Kyle Juszczyk to get some looks at fullback and at tight end, with George Kittle now on injured reserve. Ricky Pearsall was terrific in week 1. Has to be that number 1 wideout once again. And less than a week after signing him, Kendrick Bourne. Welcome back to the Niners. They're going to be calling your number. Lastly, can Robert Saleh's defense do it again? This is a unit that is counting on 5 to 6 rookies who have to play a lot of snaps for San Francisco's defense throughout 2025. And in week 1, this is the beauty of great coaching. They were well prepared. Robert Saleh got creative. He was aggressive. We saw some exotic looks from time to time. They were really good in stopping the run. They generated a pass rush when they needed to. They generated 2 turnovers. Can the Niners defense duplicate that performance with the youth movement on that side of the ball? So, Trace, you don't have to go in order or have a necessary number for your keys to the game, but from the Saints sideline, what does New Orleans have to accomplish to pull off the upset? By the way, Niners were 7-point favorites after the Brock Purdy injury news, went down to 4.5, then 3.
So I'm going to give you 5 as well. You gave 5. I'm going to try to give 5
Let's go.
too. So the first thing for the New Orleans Saints, you got to limit the penalties. A lot of pre-snap issues, especially. The Saints had 3 false start penalties, 2 illegal shifts, and 2 offensive holding penalties. A lot of those are very controllable factors, so you have to control the controllables, and you have to stop shooting yourself in the foot, quite frankly. That's my number 2 point, is stop beating yourself. The New Orleans Saints have a penalty and a clock management problem. Kellen Moore at the end of the first half was really, really sloppy with his clock management, had 3 timeouts that he could have used to try to give his team some time to put points on the board late in the half, but he opted to not use them, gets the ball back with less than a minute, runs 1 play, and then heads into the locker room for halftime. I thought that it was soft. I thought that it wasn't very aggressive. And so the Saints need to find ways to not just stop the penalties, but to finish drives. They are their own worst enemy. They give up too many big plays. They cannot finish drives whenever they get to 3rd down. They cannot get off the field on 3rd downs. They'll have a lot of different opportunities for 3rd and long, 3rd and 8+ yards, even 3rd and behind the sticks, and they're still converting. So the New Orleans Saints need to find ways to stop shooting themselves in the foot. Another one, pressure Mac Jones. I know a key to victory for you, Chase, was to protect Mac Jones. A key to victory for the Saints is to bring the pressure. I looked at the PFF numbers, and when he's kept clean versus when he's under pressure is drastically different numbers. A 72.1 completion percentage versus a 38.9 completion percentage. It is drastically night and day difference. Another one, slow down the San Francisco defense, because like we talked about, it's pretty good extent. A lot of playmakers, a lot of great football players. Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Bryce Huff, Fred Warner, D. Winters, Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green, Jair Brown. Like, these guys can make a difference against this Saints team. And the last one is, to be honest, Spencer Rattler needs to push the ball down the field. And I think that the Saints offense needs to display more confidence in Spencer Rattler. And I'm not sure if that's Rattler having more confidence himself. I don't know if that's Kellen Moore having more confidence. But in week 1, only 4.65 yards per attempt for Spencer Rattler, which is not ideal.
No.
You want to see him pushing the ball downfield. So if you can have a little bit more confidence, have a little bit more trust in your offense, I think the Saints can start rolling in that regard. But they were very stagnant in week 1. They were not super inspiring. It was one of those games where going into the season, you knew it was going to be a long year. Coming out of week 1, it was like, I don't feel any more or less confident. I'm just not mad leaving this game. And that's a big difference for this year for Saints fans, is we're not leaving games frustrated and mad because Dennis Allen has a coaching just shambles and just absolute crumble under pressure. But now it's, okay, we're building something. We have something to look forward to. So the 5 keys, exactly what I said. Stop the penalties. Stop shooting yourself in the foot. Pressure Mac Jones. Slow down the Niners defense and push the ball downfield.
Last one before we let you go. New Orleans, such a fun city to visit. You're going on Bourbon Street. You're going on Frenchman Street. You'll get some great food, great music. What's cool about where the stadium is located, it's not far from some of the tourist attractions. And as we know, it is a very loud environment, very difficult place to play. You're a lifelong, diehard Saints fan. You've been to some games at the Superdome. What makes it such a difficult place to play at for San Francisco?
Man, you get a bunch of rowdy drunk Cajuns in an inside dome, it's going to get a little bit wild. I'm just going to go ahead and say. I mean, the energy in New Orleans is just one of those cities. It's just got aura.
It never sleeps.
It never, ever sleeps. There's always a party. There's always something to celebrate. Even despite 7-game losing streaks, you're still going to see parades up and down. So it's just a unique city. It's a really, really fun place. It's a really fun town. If you're going out to the game, get out to Bourbon Street. Get out to Canal Street. Do some shopping. Do some eating. Like, some of the best food you will ever have. And if you get the opportunity, head over to Pato's, get a Hurricane, get some grub. They have really good food over there too. So, I mean, New Orleans is a special city. It's a really fun city. Have fun, be safe. But at the end of the day, it is a really, really raucous environment. Get a bunch of drunk Cajuns. It's going to get loud.
His last name is Gerard. It just screams New Orleans. So, too, does that mustache right there. You can tell the guy likes to have a really good time. If you made it until the end of this video, I want you to type real one down in the comment section. If you're a Saints fan and you're watching this show on the 49ers Report, thanks for hanging out. We all know Trizzy always brings the heat, does a great job over there. We'll both be live for our watch parties. Tap in and join us. I always like to say, for the respective fan base, it's the best place to experience a game day outside of being at the actual game. And for Trace, I'm Chase. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Trizzy. Great to talk with Trace once again. It's been a little while since a lot of you have seen him or heard from him, but he's crushing it on Saints Now, really helping to lead our short-form digital social media team, and obviously providing us with some really good insight with the New Orleans Saints. Couple of really big super chats came in during that last Niners Saints preview. Let's get to those, and we're about to hop on out of here, but we can't leave until we overtake Saints Now in our super chat battle here. $2 away from a tie, $3 away from a win. I'm not signing off until we beat that number. Jaguars Stone Paul, $2. Is our Brock Purdy situation a little bit worrisome? I would say it's worrisome, right? I mean, he could be out anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. Now, if it's this week, next week, you can win those games against New Orleans and Arizona. If it becomes a situation where Purdy misses 5 games, you're looking at him last year being hurt, this year being hurt, and at the end of 2022, injured his elbow, and he was hurt. He is a smaller quarterback. So then you start to worry about his durability a little bit, right? And you gave him $55 million. We know that he's a special quarterback. We know that the casuals always underrate him. Last week, it was incredible to see what he did given the situation, given the environment, but he continues to get hurt. Yeah, it becomes a pretty big worry. Thank you for that. Love SpongeBob the show as well. Jeannie Wyatt, $50 super chat. Jeannie. Bang, bang, 49ers. We need a tight end and juice to block for CMC. We will see Christian McCaffrey gone for more than 10 yards. Our defense will score, carry the team. 28-10 is the prediction. Are you saying the Niners are going to lose 28-10? But you said carry the team, so I think you mean Niners are going to win 28-10? I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. I don't think it's going to be an 18-point win. I think San Francisco wins pretty close. I gave you my score prediction a little bit earlier. I think it's back and forth, and it's a really close game. You will have 3 tight ends who are solid blockers for the Niners here. Well, I'd say 2 tight ends who are solid blockers. Luke Farrell's a really good blocker. Jake Tonches, solid blocker. Braden Willis struggles, but he does have experience playing H-back fullback. You put him at H-back fullback. Maybe you put Kyle Juszczyk at tight end. You go heavy there. Those are some different personnel packages that the Niners could use. Night Shift Garage, the 4949. That's awesome. A short pass game will benefit Mac Jones, and if you have to eat a sack, do it. Don't toss a needless interception. That's what I said, right? Get rid of the ball quick and snappy so that the rush can't get to Mac Jones. When he feels that rush, he starts to panic, and like Brock Purdy, he's got a little bit of that gunslinger mentality. That can be good. Jake Tonches touchdown. It could be bad, the 2 Brock Purdy picks in week 1. But with Mac, you have to understand, you're a backup quarterback, manage the game, play point guard, don't give it up. That's what backups have to do. And too often, backups try to get too aggressive. They try to pull off these throws that they can't complete. So get rid of the ball quickly, make smart decisions, and yes, Night Shift, if you have to take a sack, that is so much better. Punt the ball away, live to play another down, as compared to a turnover, which can turn the game. So design the offense and call plays to get the ball out of Mac Jones's hands fast. Matthew Short, $5. Chase, when you don't protect your quarterback with a good offensive line, there's a chance he might get hurt. Shame on Kyle and John. Now, Purdy got injured in the second quarter on a run, a scramble. So, look, I think he could have done a better job of sliding, maybe trying to get out of bounds. He got tackled from behind. That's probably where his toe got bent up, and that led to the turf toe. At the same time, why did he run, Matthew Short? To your point, he had to escape pressure. And when you're pressured nearly 60% of your dropbacks and you're hit as many times as Brock was, not a sustainable way to play. And you're right, it will lead to injuries. And that's why it's just insane to me. If you couple a better offensive line with this pass game, with the talent, with this run game, with the coaching and the play calling and the play designs, this Niners offense could be unstoppable. But Shanahan's a former wideout, John Lynch a former safety. They just don't value offensive line enough. And I like the Colton McKivitz deal, but they gave him $15 million because they didn't want to pay big time money for a right tackle. And they're okay with him just being good enough. They're not striving toward greatness. What does Howie Roseman do with the Eagles? He wants that offensive line to be great because it gives you a chance to win week in and week out and win every single game. Solaris MC, $5 in British pounds. Just checking in on the Bang Bang Niner gang since me coming here has become a bit more of a rarity. Hey, man, whenever you're here, whenever you have time for us, we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're hanging out. We appreciate you for supporting the show, watching the show. I know that you get busy from time to time. We're not going anywhere. So if you ever need your Niners content, you know where to find it. Right here on the 49ers Report. And how about Solaris MC with the British pounds giving us the win over Saints now? That's what I'm talking about. We win our Super Chat battle. Hopefully the Niners win on Sunday. On the field, we won today. In between the lines, inside the walls at Chat Sports. And, of course, we'll be doing a Super Chat battle during that game for our watch party. Hope to see all of you there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Niners Saints preview will be up on the channel here in a little while. And I'll catch you soon here on the Niners Report. Live on Krug tomorrow, live on Sunday, content every day. That's the standard.